Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Wounded Healer. Thanks for coming back. I'm your host, Keith, and today we're going to talk about some mental health needs. With November being Men's Mental Health Awareness, I figured this would be a good time to get into this. Although I do believe every day should be Mental Health Awareness Day. But today, we're going to more specifically talk about some therapy, steps to getting into therapy, and maybe some alternatives to your traditional therapy setting. And I get it right now. Everyone's in a tight spot, and everyone's got a lot on their minds, a lot going on. Hell, there's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot going on in your worlds. And, the cost of everything is just skyrocketing, right? It's going up. And at some point, we're all faced with making sacrifices. So, I think I'm spot on when I say if it comes down to feeding your family or paying for a scheduled therapy appointment, more than likely you're going with feeding your family, right? I get it. But we can't make excuses. We have to figure out a way to make it work. And hopefully by the end of this, we'll have a better idea of some ways that we can. And let's be honest. If you actually do schedule that appointment, more than likely, you're gonna go into this therapist, and you're gonna talk about how you can't afford to feed your family and how you probably feel guilty for even being there, right? And that's not really what therapy is for. The everyday things that you struggle with, the things that are on your mind, the things that you want to talk about, you should be talking about those things daily. You should be connecting with somebody and having conversations with somebody daily, just about everything, anything that's on your mind. It's okay to talk things out, to talk to people. Therapy is one of those things that it works if you continue to go, you're consistent, and you're doing the work, you're doing the homework, and you're being honest when you're in there. And you really need to back it up a little bit and talk about some of the things that led you to getting there. And that's really, in a nutshell, kind of what therapy is. And we'll obviously get into that a little bit more later. So, this is what you see a lot. You see the person that goes that one time, and then, they feel like they have this newfound look on life because, they're enlightened, right? Because they went one time and they think they got it figured out. So then they share with their friends that they went to a therapist and, again, they've been enlightened. And then next thing you know, you're posting a couple motivational quotes on social media. And let's be honest, you probably have no idea who wrote the quote or what it truly even means. So you post all that on there just to reiterate to your people that you're enlightened now and that everything is good to go. Somehow you've forgotten that these are the same folks that just witnessed you go on a rampage in a post over some normal stuff that most people could just handle and no one would know anything else about it, right? So good luck with that transition. Honestly, I don't even want to know how that works out for you because you're not someone that's taking it serious and you're not someone that's made your mental health a priority. You're more or less seeking for attention and distractions to keep you from working through what you have going on. So, if you want to be serious and get serious about it, we really do. You have to get a handle on this stuff, and right now I'm speaking directly to parents, and I know this isn't something you want to hear. And this is definitely not something that you're going to blast all over social media or in your peer groups. But parents, you are the reason your kids are suffering. And I get it. Listen, I understand that at one point you were children, and whatever you have going on right now is a causality of some of the things that happened when you were a child, when you were a kid, when you were growing up. It's okay. I'm not saying this to be mean or rude. I'm a parent. I have my own stuff going on too. There's no different than anybody else out there. And I'm not putting myself above, beneath, or anything. I'm right there with you, side by side. So yeah, you have to look at that. You have to understand yourself, and you have to make yourself, make yourself a priority, and also make your mental health a priority. So that can kind of radiate, out to the people around you, your kids, siblings, friends, whatever it is. And I think just being aware, we talk about that kind of swing in the pendulum of your mood or behaviors. And I'm not talking about the folks that experience psychosis, right? The extreme of the mental health. I'm talking about the 2, 3, 4 days in a row where you're feeling sad, you're not feeling motivated, you just don't feel like yourself. Check yourself. Look in the mirror, journal. At what point did this shift? What happened? Who said what? What event took place? What's bothering you? Try to get ahead of it, right? That's what I'm talking about. I don't have all the answers. I'm just talking about things that I do now that have helped me, things that I see over and over and over again, that people are doing that are successful with getting ahead of this stuff. Everything doesn't have to cost money, and everything doesn't need that guru, right? You can be your own guru sometimes. You know yourself, and I'm not talking about the being a self-proclaimed doctor or diagnosing yourself. I'm talking about just taking the initiative to understand things better, taking the initiative to educate yourself on a couple things, taking the initiative to understand that you feel different today than you did yesterday. What happened? That's all I'm talking about. And then we can get ahead of these things, because we do not want it to compound. So let's talk about some of the average cost, right? So in the U.S., you're looking at between $60 to almost $200 per session to see a therapist, a psychiatrist, even a licensed counselor, some type of licensed therapist. That's expensive, right? Because again, we talked about how this is something that needs to be in session. So you're going to need to go more than once to build this relationship, to really have an understanding of where this stuff has come from and why you're where you're at right now, and where do you go. And hell, in some of the bigger cities, it can be much higher than that. You can get up closer to that $1,000 range. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean you receive better therapy because you pay more. Honestly, it's just the going rate. And they can set their rates based off of experience, where they're at, what they specialize in. So, nope, it's not fair. I get it. Nothing is fair, right? That's why you have to put some work in too. So you're not being taken advantage of. And so you are getting what's best for you. And for those of you that think, therapy is for the weak, or for, it's not something for you. In 2020, 41 million adults received treatment or counseling for mental health. It's over 20% of the population. And, these were averages were between 18 and 44. So probably a majority of the group that I'm speaking to right now, you can see who this affects the most and who is really in need of this. And, just as a side note, the statistics were about 15% of that population, is taking the prescriptions. And I have mixed opinions on prescriptions. And although I am not a doctor by no means, but I do pay a lot of attention to this stuff and spend a lot of time looking into it and researching and reading. I do believe there's other ways and other alternatives to help us through some of this stuff. Now that we've kind of covered some of the cost, let's look at, will insurance cover these visits? And, for the most part, most insurance plans do have a mental health policy in there where they will cover some mental health visits or specialist. However, some of your therapists do not accept insurance. And honestly, it just comes down to the way that they're billed. Sometimes it just doesn't benefit smaller practices. So they will ask you to pay out of pocket, which means you have to pay the day of the visit. If your insurance does cover, you will be asked to pay a copay. One thing I can say about this, that if you've taken the steps to find a therapist, and you feel good about it and you're like, okay, I really want to do this, but it's expensive, my insurance isn't covering it, they're not taking my insurance, something that you can ask, and this is something that most therapists will do, and that is a sliding scale billing system. And that is where they can kind of scale back the fees and services based on a customer's ability to pay. So let's, for example, if this therapist average session is $100, they may be able to scale it back to $75 for you, and you go forward that way. So that is something to ask, and it's okay to ask that. Again, it's your time, it's your money, it's your mental health. Ask these questions, and that's something that they all do. So you're not looking for something for free. You're not trying to negotiate. Again, it just comes down to billing, so they are willing to do this if you ask. Now, the average cost that we just talked about and the insurance coverage, those are associated with your more traditional style therapy sessions, are going to see a professional medical licensed psychiatrist, counselor, therapist. Now, there are some other forms of therapy that you can look into that may have a lower cost or no cost. And, in most areas, you have therapy community mental health clinics, and some of those will take walk-ins. And those are sometimes associated with some of your medical centers, hospitals, or mental health facilities. There are therapist training centers, your local support groups, and just a quick Google search, you'll probably find hundreds of these things online. There's online therapy now. That's become a big thing. Just remember, though, there will be a cost associated with the online therapy, but it is convenient. And if that's something that would work for you, it is convenient. But just remember, there's a cost for that. And then there's other forms too, like family and friends, right? And that, I say with an understanding that sometimes our family and friends may be the reason why we need to talk to someone else. So choose wisely. But I think more importantly, when it comes to the family and the friends aspect, you have to be okay with narrowing down that nucleus of people. And by now in life, I hope that you have a better understanding of that quantity is not better than quality. And take that for what it's worth. But I would really, really encourage you to look at kind of narrowing down that group and focusing your priorities on the most meaningful connections. And then there's also, your own ability to educate yourself and to just learn a little bit more, right? And again, just like I said earlier, do not go down that rabbit hole on WebMD of symptoms you're going to find out there, because you could end up with anything by the end of the day. In 10 minutes, you could have the worst disease ever, right? So, but it doesn't hurt to put some of the work in to get a better understanding of what's going on. And, there's tons of resources out there. Just look for credible resources. Stay away from the one-hit wonder stuff. Stay away from the top 5 things you need to do to feel amazing. Nothing is instant. And if it is, then it's something you shouldn't be taking anyways, and it's probably going to backfire on you in the long run. So, this is all about putting the work in. I've said this many times on here. You personally have to put the work in. You have to make it a priority, and you'll see improvements. So now that we've gone through that, we're kind of at that spot to where if you find somebody, the most important thing is that you actually feel comfortable with them, and you'll know within a few minutes of meeting this therapist, counselor, person, kind of that feeling you get, right? So really, in order for therapy to work, it has to be a two-way street. So you need to feel comfortable, and you need to be willing to be there, and you need to be honest. You need to be honest with them so they have a good idea of what direction to go. And if you're not willing to be honest and transparent in there, then you're not ready to be there. Because again, like I said in the very beginning, you're just going to go in there and start rambling on about what's happening right now. And I'm not saying that that's wrong, and that sometimes that's not needed. And sometimes what's happening right now is the cause of what's going on. But more than likely, it's not. And it's not a session where you can just go in there and start bitching about what's happened to you the day before. You really got to dig a little deeper. So again, being honest, dig a little deeper, think a little bit about how you got there, what got you there. And the reason why you want to be honest and open and actually put some thought into this is they need all this information to help putting together that healing plan, right? So they know what direction to go to, so they can help you heal. So it's okay, in the beginning when you're looking to build that rapport, to also ask the therapist some questions too. I think we all are a little bit uncomfortable already just getting there. So when you're there, it's kind of like when they take your blood pressure, the doctor's office, you get the white coat syndrome, blood pressure is always going to go up. This is no different. When you get in there, you're going to feel nervous, you're going to clam up, And you're going to forget to ask things. You're going to forget to talk about things. And that's, again, why this has to be something that it builds off of each session. But it's okay to ask questions when you get in there about this person to help with that rapport building, to help with that comfortability, I guess you would say. So, you can ask them what their specialty is or what their background's in. You can ask things like, how many clients do they see a week? To make sure that they actually have time for you, to make sure that, they're not themselves overworked or stressed out, right? You can ask what other resources do they offer. And, again, there's other questions you can ask. Write these things down. Whatever you feel is going to help you become more comfortable with this person or help you get to know them. Ask these questions, because this is somebody that you're going to be sharing some shit with that nobody else knows, right? So you deserve to have a level of comfortability with them. And one of the things that I will ask of you, that if you are someone that has been through therapy, please do not go in there and pretend that you know everything that's getting ready to happen and everything that they're getting ready to ask you. Don't be that person. Be open, be honest, listen and focus. You're trying to come together to formulate a good treatment plan, right? So, yeah, just don't be that person. That is frustrating on both ends. Hell, that's frustrating in just everyday life, right? So just don't be that person. And just remember that they're not there to fix you, right? Because you're not broken. You're not broken. You just have some scars that you have some wounds that haven't healed. And the idea is that together you can turn those wounds into scars. And that's right. They're not going anywhere. You have to remember that. These wounds are there. Your goal was to heal them, right? To scar them over and move on and understand why they're there. But even more importantly, understand how you've healed and what that looks like moving forward. So remember, they're not there to fix you. You are not broken. We're there to heal the scars, heal the wounds, turn it into scars. Yeah, and just remember, don't be one of those folks out there that think seeing a therapist is a sign of weakness. It is not. Statistics show that a lot of adults do this. It's necessary. It's okay. And at the end of the day, your brain and nervous system know you're not that tough. And they're going to go to work on you. And you're going to feel it. And you're going to know it. So you do not want to go to battle with your brain and your nervous system. You will lose. A great example is just try to hold your breath until you die. Guess what? You can't. Your spinal cord won't allow it. So if you're not feeling right, those two, that whole nervous system, your brain, spinal cord, are going to let you know. And just talking through some of these things and some of the stuff that you can learn through therapy and that you can learn on your own will help you feel better. So I think we covered a lot, and I'm going to throw, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, and I'm going to throw myself out there and do my part. I'm here for anyone who needs it, and it's free. If you just reach out to me, and I'm going to put my information in the description, we can talk it out. If you're in it and you're in those feelings and you're just going through it, just reach out to me. I'm going to do my best. I know just enough to help one person, but I'm continuing to learn so I can help many more. You may just be that one person, right? And, I'm going to do my best, and that's me every day. So trust me when I say taking the steps to get into therapy or taking the steps to start talking to somebody you trust about how you're feeling is so much more impactful than scrolling mindlessly through social media to distract yourself from the issues. And I get it. You know, it's a good distraction, right? It's going to completely take your mind off of what's going on. But just remember, the problem with distraction is that the longer you stay distracted, the more these issues will compound. And that compound effect is bad. You know, that's just going to make things worse, and we do not need worse. So remember, November is Men's Mental Health Awareness. So fellas, I'm talking to you. Parents, I'm talking to you. Let's get ahead of this thing. Let's make it a priority. And like I said, my information will be in the description. Reach out to me. I'm here for you. And you know, it's just all about helping, making people better every day. And that's my goal. And, you know, just hopefully by the end of this, or if you actually do reach out to me, we can leave you better than we found you. So good luck and happy Thanksgiving.